House prices are notoriously high here in central London, but there's one property in this area that is worth almost £4 billion, which makes it the most valuable property in the world, although it isn't for sale. Do you know which one it is? Let's go and check it out. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel Walking History with me, Mick Priestley, historian and walking tour guide here in central London. This morning we are standing west of the City of London, south of Camden, east of Kensington and Chelsea and north of the River Thames, which means of course we are standing inside the historic city of Westminster, a city that has been here in central London since 1540, and that is Buckingham Palace, one of the most famous buildings in the world. It was the London home and administerial headquarters of Her Majesty the Queen, although the Queen allegedly referred to as the office because this is only where she stayed when she was in London. Her main home was actually out in Windsor Castle, but the palace has been here in one form or another since 1703, when it was originally built for a man named John Sheffield, who was the Duke of Buckingham. It was known as Buckingham House for a while. If you were to see the palace from the air, it's a square shape with a grand courtyard in the middle. The original Buckingham House from 1703 is now the west wing of the palace at the back of the building. You can't see it from here. If you wanted to see the original Buckingham House, you'd either have to fly over it in a helicopter or be invited to a royal garden party, perhaps. It became a royal residence here for the first time in 1761 when it was acquired by King George III as a private home for his wife, Queen Charlotte. Queen Charlotte gave birth to 14 of her 15 children here at Buckingham Palace, and King George III, some people might know, was the last king of the Americas, famously losing the American colonies in the American War of Independence in 1775. But when King George III died, it then became the property of his son, King George IV, and King George IV couldn't help but notice that there was clearly a problem with the palace, and the problem was that it was too small. It didn't compete with all the French and Spanish palaces out on the continent, so we needed to do some building. He employed the work of a man named Edward Blaw and a man named John Nash, who also built Clarence House, where the king's living, and various other bits throughout the Westminster area, and a lot of construction work began in the early 1820s. First, the north and south wings of the palace were built. Then, by 1829, Marble Arch, which now stands at the end of Oxford Street, was standing right there in the middle as a grand ceremonial entrance through into the grand courtyard. When King George IV died, though, it then became the property of King William IV, and King William IV, unlike his predecessors, decided that the spending was getting out of control here at Buckingham Palace and we needed to rein it in. When there was a big fire at the Palace of Westminster, better known as the Houses of Parliament, the fire in 1834 burned down the majority of the building. That led King William IV to offer up Buckingham Palace here as a replacement for the Houses of Parliament, but his offer was turned down, and so 3 years later, when he died in 1837, 18-year-old Queen Victoria became the first monarch to take up full-time residency here at the palace, followed 3 years later by her husband, Prince Albert. The construction continued. Marble Arch was taken apart brick by brick to be painstakingly rebuilt at its current spot at the end of Oxford Street, where it's standing right now, and by 1846 the Grand East Wing that we're looking at was finally completed. The Grand East Wing features the famous balcony in the middle with the two columns on it there. You'll have seen Charles and Camilla standing on there not long ago with the crowns on the head, waving at the crowds, that kind of thing. Prince Charles and Lady Diana Spencer were the first royal couple to share a royal kiss on that balcony after their marriage on the 29th of July 1981. That's a tradition that's been repeated by a whole bunch of royal couples now, including but not limited to Prince William and Kate Middleton after their marriage in 2011. After all those years of building and renovating though, you might be wondering just how grand is Buckingham Palace today? Well, Buckingham Palace is a 775-room, 829,000 square foot mansion standing here in the city of Westminster. Over 5 floors, it has 240 bedrooms, 78 bathrooms. There's a full-size swimming pool inside the building. It's also home to the world's largest privately owned collection of artworks and furniture. The 40-acre garden at the back of the property, which makes it almost the size of Green Park at 47 acres, is the largest privately owned garden in London. It features its own helipad, its own lake, its own tennis courts. The building features its own full-size cinema, its own full-size theatre, its own post office, its own doctor's surgery, and its own police station, and is home to hundreds of people that live and work here 24/7, 365 days a year, tending to all the needs of the palace. They're known as the royal household. It is in fact quite a house. You might be surprised to know though that this is not in fact where the king is living. Just a short distance from the palace, that white building is actually where King Charles is living. That is Clarence House, and it was built between 1825 and 1827 by John Nash, who I mentioned back at the palace there. He had quite a lot to do with various bits throughout the Westminster area. In Victorian times, Clarence House was the home of 2 of Queen Victoria's sons, Prince Alfred until his death in 1900 and Prince Arthur until his death in 1941. By that point, the Second World War was raging, and that's what actually killed Prince Arthur. He was an old man at the time. But the house was hit by a bomb during the war. Bits of it had to be rebuilt. It does look slightly different now to if you'd been here in 1827 and seen it when it was finished. In the time since the Second World War, though, this was the home of Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, for more than 50 years, and also of Princess Elizabeth, who would of course become Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, and her husband, Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, who also sadly passed away quite recently. It was the home of Princes William and Harry until their marriages in 2011 and 2018, and today it is the London home of His Majesty King Charles III and his wife Queen Camilla. When he became the king, everybody was expecting that he was going to move to Buckingham Palace, but he said he's not going to do that. He's been here for decades, he's quite comfortable, he's not going anywhere. Thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share. YouTube thinks you might like to watch this video next. I'll see you back here real soon for some more walking history.
I don't think this one likes it.